So the strength of this method is dependent upon how well you can memorize the first 7 letters of the alphabet in this order. So the purpose of this method is to keep it as simple as possible for you to memorize every single scale and corresponding key signature. So we'll start with the sharps. G major has F sharp. D major has F sharp and C sharp. A major has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So the way the grid will look when you draw them out, you'll have G major has F sharp in the key signature, D major, F sharp, and C sharp. A major has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, simply by working backwards through this B, E, A, D, and G, C, F. So the sharps work this way, and the flats work this way. So we're writing out all of the key signatures working with sharps. So carrying on, in the same way, E major has F, C, G, and D, and B major has F, C, G, D, and A. So with the E major scale, E has F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. If I write out the scale of E major, it will look like this. That's E to E, and then just fill in the sharps. So you've got an F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. That is the scale of E major. So just to run through the ones we've already drawn out, G major has an F sharp in it. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Come to the grid, it's got an F sharp. D major. Remember we worked this out by going backwards. F and C sharp is in D major. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, F sharp, and C sharp. A major has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp in it. And that is how you work out the key signatures and the notes of the scales with the sharps. So now let's take a look at the key signatures that are linked to the scales that have flats. So, same rule, you write out the alphabet in this order. As opposed to going this way, as we did with the sharps, we're going to be going this way with the flats. So we're going to start with the scale that has two flats, and that is B flat major. B flat major has B flat and E flat in it. So if I write out the scale, and then fill in the corresponding flats, B flat and E flat, that is the scale of B flat major. So how did I come up with these two? Starting from this, is when you're doing the flat method, you draw flats by each one. B flat major has B flat in it plus E flat, the one after it. E flat major has B flat, E flat and A flat. In the key signature. So to write out the scale of E flat major, you write out the alphabet, E to E, and then fill out the corresponding flats. And it's exactly the same way throughout the entire list. So A flat major has B, E, A and D flats. It always goes from the beginning of the list up until the key that you're doing and the one after. And those are your flat scales with the corresponding key signatures. Now, you may have noticed there's one thing different with the flats as opposed to the sharps, is that I've started with a key signature that has two, as opposed to on the sharps, if we look back here, I started with G major that's got one sharp, F sharp. The reason for that is because there's an odd one out. The odd one out is F. F major only has B flat in it. And the way I work that out is at the beginning of the grid. So writing out F major, just has the B flat. And notice it's F major, not F flat major. Okay, so now I'm going to run through the entire collection again of major scales, just using those first 7 letters of the alphabet. Let's start with the sharps again. The first sharp that you'll get is F sharp. Try and have a think, which scale is the scale that just has F sharp in it? G. F sharp and C sharp are the two sharps. Have a think. What major scale corresponds to F sharp and C sharp? D. Now let's work on the flats. Remember, the order of flats goes this way. We'll start with the second, which is B flat major, and it has B flat and E flat. And can you remember what we have to do when you're working with flats? You flatten each one. So B flat major has B flat and E flat. Which scale has B flat, E flat and A flat? E flat major. And there you have it. Those are the major scales with the corresponding sharps and flats. Now you'll notice here, pushing it just one step further, is that what happens when you're working with the sharps, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp and E sharp, and you jump over and there are no letters left. I mean, this is really talking about grade 5 theory level. When you get to the end and you jump over, what happens is it goes back to the beginning again, F, but when it goes back to the beginning of the list, you've got to put a sharp in front of it. So there is a scale that has 7 sharps, F, C, G, D, A, E and B. And as you jump over, it would be C sharp. So C sharp major has all of those notes sharpened. Let's go back to the flats. And the interesting thing about this one is C flat major has all of these. But the note C flat is the same as B. It's the enharmonic equivalent. Now, I appreciate that that might go above a lot of your heads at the moment. However, it's important to know that if you've got to write this grid out and you get asked for C flat major, that is what it's got in it. It's got 7 flats. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video about all of your scales, all of your majors and your minors and the corresponding key signatures. So you may have noticed that this is just the majors and their key signatures. What about the minors? Okay, so every single major scale has a relative minor. A relative minor is the term used for the corresponding minor scale that shares the same key signature. And the way to work this out is to take, for example, G, and to go down 3 semitones from the G. So for this, I'm going to draw out a little keyboard at the bottom so you can visualize working back 3 semitones from each of these. So, G major, find the G and go down 3. 1, 2, 3. That note is E, E. E minor and G major both have F sharp in the key signature. Now I can just fit it in here, just about. D. Locate the D on the piano. Go down 3. B. And that is all of your scales, sharps and flats, with your majors and your minors, just from knowing 7 letters of the alphabet in that order.